Greetings, one and all, lend me your ears, for I am Foxicus, philosopher of story. I'm here to prove that these traditional myths that Hollywood is taking and stuffing them into the meat grinder of their own variation of storytelling is by far wrong. These shills that they call product are nothing more but a blatant retelling for simple profit. How dare they take these tales of ye old and turn them into something of pure profit so they could... No. What am I thinking? I'd rather review this as myself and not a character. Though, I'm gonna think that I think I'll keep the toga on. Because between you and me, I'm not wearing anything underneath. Right, fine. You watch the intro. I'll put some pants on. Jeez. Request time. What? Happy? Sickos. Anyway, today's Patreon request comes from Andy Smith. With his ongoing patronage, he was able to get a flick of his choice reviewed right here on this season and further episodes of the show. I would not like to thank him for his continuing support, but also for today's flick. It's one I've been meaning to revisit for a very, very long time, and why not better but this season? So, thanks for the selection. I greatly appreciate it. It was not only fun to rewatch, but there was a lot of behind-the-scenes trivia I didn't know about, so thanks. If you want to get a feature of your pick reviewed right here on the show, go to my Patreon page, make a donation, show your support, and I'll see if I can fit it in for this season or next, depending on how the schedule looks. Outside of that, what do we have in store for today? Well, as a follow-up to last year when we did Hunchback of Notre Dame, we're going back to the Disney Renaissance of the mid-1990s, in a little section I like to call the lower birth era of the Disney Renaissance.
Oh, yeah!
Oh, Hercules! What?
Yep. Better get that reference out now while I still have the chance. Back in 1992, the idea originated as an adaptation of Homer's epic, The Odyssey. But due to its complications in translating the story to film, it was abandoned. Fresh from the ashes was animator Joe Hader, who still wanted to adapt a Greek myth for Disney animation, given one was never attempted since 1940's Fantasia. His original idea was to have Hercules get involved in the Trojan War, but that went as far as the developmental stage. Fresh off the success of Aladdin, John Musker and Ron Clements were seeking to get their Dream Treasure Planet project greenlit. As a deal with then-Chairman Katzenberg, they were able to get their sci-fi feature made under the condition they craft another commercially viable film before taking a risk. After being proposed film ideas from Don Quixote to Around the World in 80 Days, they came across Hader's Hercules concept and toyed with the idea of how funny and challenging it could be to adapt a Greek myth for Disney animation. And granted, it's not a bad idea. Mythology has many different tellings and variations. Though, the big difference is that compared to fantasy, it's history. It's a kind of piece of literature of something that could have happened despite its tall tellings. There's fantasy elements to it, but albeit historical, and realistic, and brutal, and raw, and ravage, and pillaging, and discreet to every detail, minute. You get the idea. So, Clemens and Musker wanted to take that, and they did, and turn it into a screwball superhero sports movie with pop gospel music. Yeah, that's what we're in for today. So, there's much to analyze and discover, so let's... Hoping not too late. Gotta try and find something my size. Anyway, where were we? Okay. I am Barbicus, the Lord of the Lightning. It shoots at my fingertips and through my nostrils. Oh dear. Cut. Listen, about this. There was a lot of behind-the-scenes research I had to do, and upon doing so, there was a lot of unique trivia I wanted to pack into this, and so, for the sake of sacrifice, I had to cut your bits so that would have enough time to relish on those instead. What? Wait, but those are going to be the best parts! You're going to have me be revealed as the son of Zeus! Don't you mean Zeus? Zeus! So that's how it's pronounced? As much as I like storylines and sketches, I kind of wanted to focus on the movie for this one, and besides, the original idea would have been pretty hard to pull off. Can't you just keep the toga? Well, if it makes you happy. I was gonna be the son of Zeus. It was common and gold. Nothing personal, I just want to be more simplistic this season. First, let's get the story and characters out of the way because there is a lot to analyze here. I do like how it opens up like it's going to be a traditional telling of the Greek myth with Charlton Heston as the narrator.
But what is the measure of a true hero?
Lighten up, dude.
We'll take it from here, darling.
You go, girl.
Yet, I die a little inside the moment I hear him say, "You go, girls." These are the Muses, a group of goddesses that supply humanity with the arts. In the case of this movie, they're used here as a Greek chorus group. No pun intended, by means to narrate the movie. It's a cute idea, but it only goes as far as being a bunch of singing narrators. They do show up for one number in a creative way, but you could easily cut them out and little to nothing would change.
Our story actually begins long before Hercules, many eons ago.
Little shop. Bobcat. You gotta admit, the similarities are quite eerie. Well, the music is made by Alan Menken, so you got a point there. The basic premise is that the gods on Mount Olympus are celebrating the birth of Zeus's new son, Hercules. However, Hades, the ruler of the underworld, is not too pleased with the position that he is given, nor less how he's being treated.
More things in the underworld.
Well, they're just fine. You know, a little dark, a little gloomy, and as always, hey, full of dead people. What are you gonna do?
You want to slow down. You work yourself to death. Ha! Work yourself to death.
I'm gonna kick your ass.
His plan, as predicted by a group of soothsayers called the Fates, is to wait it out for 18 years until a group of planets will align to expose the prison that holds the Titans. a group of deities banished by Zeus after creating havoc to the world. Hades plans to use them to overthrow Zeus and conquer Mount Olympus, but the fates warn him that Hercules might overthrow his plans. Thus, he sends out two of his minions, Pain and Panic, to kidnap Hercules and turn him mortal with a serum that will take away his god abilities. Just go with it. Yet, Herc doesn't drink the last drop, literally, and still maintains his strength despite being turned mortal. He later grows up to be a teenager and finds he is different from the others, and tries to prove his godhood so he can join his father in Mount Olympus. From there, it becomes a mesh of superhero and sport movie tropes. Herc undergoes training, he tries to show his hero abilities to a city without hope, and gains fame from his deeds. However, Hades learns he's alive and tries to kill him with every monster in existence, trying to see if he has a weakness so his world-conquering plan goes on without flaw.
Everybody got that? Good!
Alright, so let me get the big thing out of the way. Greek myths are complex. They are not easy to translate unless you know what essential plot elements are needed to be kept in. There are a few out there that make that successful transition. The two biggest issues in telling a myth are the complex nature of the story and the multiple versions that exist.
There is no one story. There are branches, rooms, like this place. Rooms, corridors, dead ends.
One thing Ron Clements and John Musker were aware of is that there is no one myth. There are multiple versions. I am not going to knock them down too hard on altering some elements in the Hercules myth. I mean, if they tried to actually tell the story in detail, it would be hard to carry over stuff into a family-friendly story, like Zeus's many human one-night stands, or Hera's disgust with having a stepson for Hercules.
Oh, he's strong. Like his dad.
You used to be fun. Where's the Zeus who used to turn into a cow and pick up chicks? He grew up.
In addition, Clemens and Musker were inspired by the screwball comedies of the 1930s and 1940s for this project. And movies directed by those along the lines of Frank Capra would often feature complex story and a massive collection of characters. Admittedly, it's not a bad direction to adapt the Hercules story, yet I feel a lot of character depth is sacrificed and it suffers from having too much stuff plugged in. For all its setups, not everything or everyone gets a big payoff. Take, for example, when Hercules grows into a teenager under the supervision of two elderly parents, voiced by Hal Hollowbrook and Barbara Barry. There are moments when they do try to be helpful and provide advice, yet those moments feel very short.
Son, you shouldn't let those things they said back there get to you.
But Pop, they're right. Sometimes I feel like I really don't belong here.
Hercules, son.
I know it doesn't make any sense.
By the way, you're adopted.
These are Hercules' adoptive parents. You'd think they'd have some form of impact here, but they're only used as a small plot device for Herc to learn of his true heritage, and nothing else.
You're the greatest parents anyone could have, but...
You're old! From here, the pace of the movie turns into a blur between Rocky and the Superman movie. Hercules tries to prove his hero abilities while getting help from a grumpy satyr coach, and falling for a sassy damsel that is working for the bad guy. This is not bad on paper, but it feels like there's too much going on. If I was doing this project, I feel the heart of the movie could have been enhanced if, say, Herc's adoptive parents were a bigger presence here. Wouldn't it be cool if Herc's dad was the coach that used to work with past heroes? It would have saved a lot of cluttered story time as opposed to setting up new characters every 10 minutes or so in the first half. But that is how I would tell the tale, and I shouldn't hold that against the storytellers here. For a complex tale, this movie has a lot of characters to juggle around. First off, you have the title character himself, voiced by Tate Donovan. Musker and Clements felt the idea of a meat-headed hero wouldn't be interesting, and opted for a more brainier hero. To best describe from a quote by producer Alice Dewey, he's pretty much kind of like Jimmy Stewart, but in the body of the Terminator.
Well, as a matter of fact, I was just admiring how your hair sweeps up from your neck.
Anyway, Donovan's performance really matches the nature of the character here. He's naive, has a good heart, but he's not afraid to question the nature of his heroics. Just a normal good guy seeking what it means to be a hero.
But Father,
I've beaten every single monster I've come up against. I'm the most famous person in all of Greece. I'm an action figure.
You enjoyed it.
I don't know what to say, Father. I'm afraid I just got carried away.
Once Hercules becomes famous, it turns into a satire of Superman and popular athletes at the time, like Michael Jordan. This is interesting, but it doesn't feel gripping. It only leads to a series of brief sight gags and tiny digs at merchandising. Which feels weird given the heavy marketing campaign at the time, but we'll briefly get into that later. With the convolution of the narrative being set up in the first half, I feel like there's nothing left for Hercules to explore outside of trying to understand the difference between being an idol and a legend. I'll give it credit for having a good message, but it kinda feels tagged on. Compare that to his trainer Phil and the love interest Megara, which, arguably, they have the more interesting character arcs. Voiced by Danny DeVito, Phil is a retired trainer that has taught everyone from Theseus to Odysseus. The experiences leave him disappointed until Hercules proves him otherwise. It works from the standpoint of a comic relief, and to see it's never too late to chase a dream.
I seen them all, and I am telling you, and this is the honest to Zeus truth. You got something I never seen before.
Megara, voiced by Susan Egan, undergoes a similar story as she works for Hades due to a deal to save a loved one who eventually leaves her.
Well, you know how men are. They think no means yes, and get lost means take me, I'm yours.
She is left with feeling true love is fake, but starts to think otherwise by Herc's optimism and perseverance.
When I was a kid, I would have given anything to be exactly like everybody else.
You wanted to be petty and dishonest?
You're not like that.
How do you know what I'm like?
And granted, it was innovative at the time to have a Disney female character that thinks more realistic, so I'll give credit for that.
I want to be where the people are. I want adventure in the great wide somewhere.
Or wish in one hand and crap in the other and see which piles up first.
However, it says a lot when you connect with your side characters and appreciate their change in life attitudes, more so compared to your main hero. Though I wouldn't be lying if I said I did watch this movie often, just for these two. And that goes double for Hades, voiced by James Woods. Originally Jack Nicholson was considered for the role, but his proposal to get a big paycheck and a major percentage of Hades merchandise turned Disney off. As cool as it would have been to have Jack in a Disney movie, it was nice to trade off to get something different for a change. Compared to the Disney villains of the past, Hades is something more different. He speaks more like a car salesman or a devilish CEO than a normal sophisticated bad guy. His motive is simple, yet it's the performance that makes it memorable.
Nah, I mean, it's a possibility. It happens because, it's war, but what can I tell you? Anyway, what do you owe these people, huh? He's got to have a weakness because everybody's got a weakness. I mean, for what? Pandora, it was the box thing. For the Trojans, hey, they bet on the wrong horse, okay?
I especially love it when the color of his flaming hair changes to fit his mood. Subtle touches like that really bring out the fun in the character.
So, here's the deal. Zeus. Mr. High and Mighty, Mr. Hey You, get off of my cloud.
We know!
I know! You know, I know, I got it. I got the concept.
As for everyone else, it's kinda hit and miss. Hades' minions Pain and Panic, voiced respectively by Bobcat Goldthwait and Matt Fewart, get a decent laugh with some funny lines.
This might be a different Hercules. Yeah, I mean, Hercules is a very popular name nowadays. Remember, like a few years ago, every other boy was named Jason, and the girls were all named Brittany?
Zeus is written to be too much of a teddy bear, despite a decent performance by Rip Torn. Pegasus is okay, and everyone else is just there for a funny moment or to move the story along. Even the gods and goddesses, which have a unique design, are kinda relegated to being background characters, save for one or two like Paul Schaefer as Hermes.
We're a little low on nectar. Bacchus got here early.
On a side note, Clemens and Musker kinda saw the ideology of this movie being idealism versus cynicalism. The idea of Hercules' motivation to go far seems to motivate those that are kind of in a very negative mood.
Giving up is for rookies. I came back because I'm not quitting on you. I'm willing to go the distance. How about you?
This is referenced pretty well, and I can see this being the glue that does hold this movie together, but I've seen this kind of story done better. Again, I know it's a little unfair to compare, but here's where I'm coming from. Take, for example, 1994's The Hudsucker Proxy by the Coen brothers. You have a movie where Norval Barnes is the idealist that is trying to make a difference in everyone's life. He's surrounded in a world of cynics, but he still holds on to hope and perseveres through his invention, hoping it will break through for the best. Not for the sake of fame and fortune, but to break the mold and do something different. On top of that, you have a movie that really knows how to juggle a wide, vast collection of characters and know exactly who to focus on, albeit the sassy love interest or the evil Sidney Musburger, played by Paul Newman. I know it's set in live action, but even the pace of the movie really knows how to juggle around who and when to focus on certain things. When to have a certain side character come back near the end for a very pivotal moment, or to have a throwaway joke that adds to the moment but doesn't detract. Now, compared to the Hercules, which does try to have the tone of a screwball comedy, but it doesn't quite move fast enough. It seems to be introducing elements almost nearly every 5 to 10 minutes, and it seems to jump around from one story element to another, not knowing exactly what should be the true focus. They don't really quite connect unless they come into frame and help us remind, oh yeah, that thing which was introduced at the beginning. I completely forgot about that. For a 90-minute movie, there is way too much to juggle around here, and certainly few characters to care about to even help support the convoluting plot, let alone one or two. But are there any other elements that could possibly save the enjoyment? Let's take a tiny nostalgia break before I dive into the animation and music.
New from the Disney movie Hercules.
Hercules, strongest man alive.
You're Hercules. Prove yourself and save the world from Hades. With sword, with axe, with tribo, defeat the evil Nessus. And with Pegasus, crush the monster Cyclops.
Extraordinary, legendary.
Hercules.
Hercules, strongest man alive.
Hercules figures, each sold separately. Powerflex Hercules coming soon from Mattel.
So I pull into this gas station.
Classic oversqueeze.
Watch this.
Release the hounds!
You like jazz? Perfect pump. Yes.
2037.
Oh! Even at the gas station, you can do more with the American Express card. Keep the change!
There's something big at McDonald's. Right now, a triple cheeseburger is just 99 cents. A big beefy burger in honor of Hercules from Disney's new movie in theaters now. What you folks need is a hero. And if you've got a hero-size appetite, McDonald's is just the burger. It's hot. It's tasty. It's a triple cheeseburger for just 99 cents. So hop in your chariot and hurry to your McDonald's, because this big deal won't be around for long. It's a big burger with a small price.
So, the story and characters are not enough to save Hercules. But what about two other important storytelling tools here? The animation and the music. Is it enough to save the experience? Not entirely, but just enough. When trying to find a style and look for the movie, Musker and Clemens took a trip with animators to Greece to get influence. Upon viewing the vast architecture and scenery, they realized Hercules needed a certain visual aesthetic that looked less realistic compared to Pocahontas and Hunchback. Thus, political cartoonist Gerald Scarfe was hired as an inspirational artist, as the two directors were fans of his work. What Scarfe noted about Greek art was how it carried two themes: power and elegance. He attempted to capture that in a lot of his concept drawings, which included broad caricatures and sweeping sharp lines that felt similar to a Greek vase painting. They looked cool, but it brought forth a problem in translating Scarfe's work to animation. But over the course of production, it helped the animators loosen up more from their traditional in-house style. Most notable was Andreas Deja, who animated Hercules, and found to be the most difficult character to design. Upon collaborating with Scarfe, Deja was able to create a look that was close to the Greek sculptures, with wide eyes, pursed lips, straight nose, and hair curls in a deco style. Ken Duncan, who worked on Megara, was able to be inspired enough to design the character closer to Greek pottery and architecture, which cleverly fits the tone of the character, having her torso be shaped like a column and hips akin to a pot. Eric Goldberg, who was notable for animating characters like the Genie, really experimented to bring Phil to life. Not only did he take inspiration from past animators like Ward Kimball, but even observed DeVito's lip reading to enhance the facial comedy in the character. As much of a challenge it was to incorporate a new art design to animation, it does help this movie stand out more. Personally, I feel it's important to have an animated film stand out with a unique style and look so it doesn't clone from the others. It would be interesting to see what ancient Greece would have looked like in a more dramatic way, but Scarf's influence does add a distorted layer that really adds to the comedic look. The best scene for me is the Hydra fight. It was a first for Disney to incorporate a fully CGI character into their movie, at least at the time. Roger Gould supervised the CGI effects, and he was no stranger to digital work in a hand-drawn movie, as his craft goes back to the Big Ben scene in The Great Mouse Detective. Now, in the myth, Hercules would cut a head off, and the Hydra would replenish it with another in its place. Clemens and Musker wanted the Hydra to be something unbelievable in scale and end up having 30 heads. Animating this 4-minute scene alone took 16 computer artists and 1 year and a half to complete. I remember seeing this scene in the theater and it left such an impression on me. Just the way it starts off like a normal monster fight and then escalates into an all-out battle. There's no other scene in the movie I can think of that has this level of intensity and intrigue. Yeah, there's the fight with the Titans at the end and some interesting set pieces in the last third, but the Hydra is so dramatic and intense that it really feels like it should have been the climax of the movie. It's so good that I feel it undermines the rest of the feature. And there's also some neat Easter eggs here and there too, which are kind of nice, such as look-alike director cameos and a nice little appearance by Scar.
He'd make a very handsome throw rug. Zazu. And just think, whenever he gets dirty, you could take him out and beat him.
There's also a fan theory that says a very particular shooting star is actually Jasmine and Aladdin riding their magic carpet around the world. But Clemens and Musker debunked that with a pretty interesting thing that I never really realized.
There are fans that believe that that shooting star was actually Aladdin on his carpet going by. So I think
some of those fans are here today.
I think this dispels that. It actually was Pegasus. It was Pegasus watching over Hercules, and that's what it is.
The music this time around is done with score by Alan Menken and lyrics by David Zeppel, who worked on Broadway prior, did lyric work for The Swan Princess, and would later do songs for Mulan. The song numbers here are okay. They're not exactly hum-worthy except maybe one or two. The aim was to go for more of a gospel sound, and it doesn't quite stick with me. One Last Hope is fun, with DeVito doing a talk Jimmy Durante sing style that is in beat with the song.
I trained enough turkeys who never came true. You're my one last hope, so you'll have to do.
Go the Distance is a tad generic.
I am on my way. I can go the distance. I don't care how far. Somehow I'll be strong.
I mean, it's nice to have a male character get an I Want song, but something about it just feels a little standard. And the songs by the Muses are kind of in one ear and out the other. They're not bad tunes, but they just don't stick around enough for me to leave an impact. The only one that is kind of memorable is I Won't Say I'm in Love. It's a fun little number that is in character with Meg, and I do like how it pokes fun at the cliches of romantic turn. Originally a different song was written for Megara, where she starts to warm up to Herc's charm, but Alan Menken decided after writing it and recording it that it didn't fit the character pretty well.
I can't believe my heart surrendered when I kissed him and told me all I thought I knew, as sad but true is wrong.
Come to think of it, good call on that cut. But one song I wish they kept in was Shooting Star. When the story was changed, the number got lost in the mix and was replaced by Go the Distance. It's not that bad, and it feels more genuine.
Of my steadfast shooting star, on his way to who knows where. He's so unlike all the stars that he outshines up there.
Come to think of it, maybe the reason I'm not gelling with these numbers too well is because they're more shticky and less genuine. Had there been some songs that were a little more character-driven and less focused on comedy, maybe it would have helped the movie just a bit. Hercules was amped up to be the big summer blockbuster of 1997. I still remember the hype like yesterday. Teaser trailers that included only the 0 to hero number were attached to 101 Dalmatians. You would walk into McDonald's and see posters being given out along with dining plates of the characters. There were action figures, a Hercules theme carnival on tour. In short, everywhere you went, Disney's Hercules was in your face. So, with all that marketing hype, how come it didn't do that well at the box office?
What? Okay, fine, I'm cool, I'm fine.
Allow me to elaborate. With a hefty $85 million budget, Hercules only grossed $99 million domestically, while international box office take-ins brought it up to $235 million worldwide. There's a lot to factor in here given the competition at the summer of 1997, from Face Off, Men in Black, and even... oh, that. From my view, the reason why I believe Disney's Hercules didn't do that big at the box office was that it kind of limited the audience. Looking at past entries like, say, Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast, it was perfect family affair, but also good date night material. And they were perfect definitions of a family picture, something for everyone. Something for the moms and dads, something from the kids, but also perfect date night material too. And, well, given the direction it was going into in terms of light comedy affair, I think the last thing that every girlfriend would want to hear their boyfriend say unto them is, "Hey, honey, you want to go check out that new animated Disney movie Hercules? I can see us cuddling really close during Danny DeVito's big number."
You gotta pay the troll toll. If you want to get into that boy's hole, you gotta pay the troll toll to get...
Bobcat! I did not want to touch the button, but the button wanted me to. As I was saying, this movie really limited the audience appeal. When Hercules arrived in theaters, it was a point when audiences were starting to lose interest in Disney's animated films. Not entirely to the point the movies were being ignored, but just to a significant level where the movie-going taste was changing. After a string of box office hits with fairy tales and dramatic musicals, it just seems that folks were starting to look for something different. And the last thing expected was an animated comedy on an epic scale. Now, as a movie, Hercules is not bad. It works fine as a comedy. Heck, there are even some jokes that I still enjoy and get a good laugh at.
We are worms! Worthless worms!
Memo to me, maim you after my meeting. Aren't we forgetting one teensy-weensy but ever so crucial little tiny detail?
I own you!
All we need now is a plague of locusts.
That's it! I'm moving to Sparta.
My answer is 2 words.
Okay.
Guys, Olympus would be that way.
Yet, as an epic comedy, it doesn't hold together. Aside from some interesting characters, the story is the weakest element that is not solid enough to hold a convoluted narrative or unique characters that are strong enough to carry it. If you're just looking for laughs, you'll get your time's worth. But if you're looking for something more sophisticated, my recommendation would be to check out the animated Asterix movies. They're adaptations of the famous French comics about a bunch of Gaul warriors that battle against the Roman Empire and Julius Caesar. They are rich on historical and modern satire, while they are also not afraid to play with the viewer's expectations. One minute, our heroes will be on a serious quest, and then an important task will randomly turn into a parody for laundry commercials.
This one. It's silkier, softer.
Yes! The gods do their washing with Olympus, which washes whiter and leaves your hands so soft.
And there's plenty of breaking the fourth wall jokes that rival that of the Looney Tunes. Granted, some of these might not be for everyone, and some of the past adaptations have some pretty dated humor. But if I had to pick one to recommend for viewers to try out, it's Asterix and the Mansion of the Gods. Not just because it's my favorite Asterix story, but it holds a good balance of humor and heart while knowing how to juggle around an ensemble cast of characters. As for Disney's Hercules, it's certainly not the worst of the lesser Disney animated films, and I can see myself watching it again in the future. However, it does pale in comparison when stacked up to the other classics. It's a fine, fun flick that doesn't go the distance, but it's entertaining enough on its own. So I have to be honest, I'm kind of getting a little bush from doing all these reviews just one after another. It's great to be on a roll, but at the same time, there's only so far you can go.
I got an ingenious idea. Why don't you go ahead and take some time off? That way you can come home, refreshed, relaxed, and even renewed.
Time off? Man, why didn't I think of that all these years? I mean, it would be good to take a break and all, but who would take over the show? And for at least one episode, conveniently for that matter. And who can I trust enough that once I leave these premises, the whole house won't be destroyed or burnt down? Why the hell am I asking you? I should be asking him. Question.
Yes?
Here's the deal. While I'm away on vacation, can I entrust you to look after the show? At least for one episode?
Take my money now! Two things. One, how do you review something? And two, what kind of movie am I in for next time?
I don't know about you, but between you and me, something tells me that we're in for a pretty big lesson come next episode.
I wish I could swim like dolphins. Dolphins can swim, but nothing will keep us together. We can beat them forever and ever. We can be heroes just for one day.
It's hard to be the new kid in town, but sometimes all it takes to feel right at home is a new pet.
So how come I didn't see this one in your store yesterday?
Well, this is a special pup. He just come in this morning.
And there's a strange place in town where the kids are finding the pets are full of surprises. Now, the magic is out of this world.
That's all far out.
And the adventure is running wild. Pet Shop. Sometimes you can find a little miracle where you least expect it.
Is he too cute or what?
Cut.
I know, Gene, that families are going to like Hercules. I liked it.
Roger.
I went with relatives. They liked it.
Don't
People
play
are
that
gonna
game
like
with me
it.
because I'll stand my family against yours, and my kids didn't like it. If you
They
want to play
didn't
that.
like it?
Nope.
They didn't?
Those are
send
great.
Send them over to Uncle Roger's house, and I'll explain it
These
to
are
them.
wonderful. You know what? I can see a future.
They've fallen under the sway
Roger.
of the wrong film critic.
Roger, we've got a sequel that will outlive us.
What's that?
My Kids versus Your Family.
Sounds like that would be a
We
lot
don't even
of
have to change the title of the show.
That's right. Well, we would, but that's okay.